Hey guys, it's Calaveras32 Special again. Decided to throw some fishing gear up on the channel today. I have everything from old school fiberglass, don't know if you can read that, Bass Outdoor America rod, that was one of my grandfather's rigs, and a simple Bass Pro Shop brand spinning reel. Relatively inexpensive setup, I'm sure. Good little bass rod. It's a 7-foot medium action. The suggested line weight 6 to 12. This is the line that was on it when I inherited it. I don't know what's on it currently. I would probably run probably an 8-pound test on this, because I'd be using it for bass here in California, and most of them aren't going to find them more than about 6 pounds. Even that, a 6-pounder, you're probably doing pretty good. If you want more information on rod weight, action, line weight, reel types, I highly suggest you go over to Jelsma Outdoors, on one of the channels here on YouTube. He is extremely knowledgeable about fishing, much more than myself. Here a while back, he actually was kind enough to invite me onto a panel to talk a little bit about fishing, and we were actually discussing reel weight, line weight, rod weight and action. That video is a wealth of information. So I encourage, if you have more questions, to talk to him. This is a Penn rod and reel. I actually picked up at a outdoor show. It was a real bargain. That's for one thing. You can find them sometimes at the expos and the shows. You sometimes can get really good deals. I purchased, because I needed a reel about this size. It was $20, and it came with the rod for no additional charge. Beautiful little deal. This one, spin this around so we both can read it. And be careful with your rods and try not to smack them on things. I'm trying to avoid hitting the ceiling of my house right now. This is a 6-foot 6-inch medium light action, and it's meant for a 6 to 12 pound line. So honestly, actually pretty similar. Oops, crash. Pretty similar weight to the old bass rod, although it's a lighter action. This is actually something I use. I run 6-pound line on this as as a small trout rod, and a buddy borrowed it, and he actually landed a trout on this rod before I even had a chance to. That's what you get. Who needs friends? And who needs enemies when you got friends like that, right? Anyhow, that's for, again, $20 for the entire, for the setup. Although I had to put line and I had to supply my own tackle, which is standard. But you can get good deals on this kind of stuff if you want to, get it, if you're just getting into it. Then you get into some of my fancier, do this one about that. Down there. Then you can get into some of my fancier rigs. This is a Fenwick Eagle rod with an old school Abu Garcia anti-backlash bait caster reel. You'll notice a design difference between the two. These are spinners. You actually hold them where they're actually down, and it's often a right-hand cast, left-hand crank. They can be switched. Oh, line's getting tangled. This is a bait caster, which is going to be a left-hand cast, right-hand crank, not easily switchable. I actually had to replace a component on this when I inherited it. It had a broken piece on it, so fortunately, Abu Garcia, being a relatively decent brand, one of the local fishing shops around here had the spare parts, and I was able to find the diagrams online about how to take everything apart and replace the piece. You're going to find a lot of, real good fishermen that are going to prefer a bait caster style reel for bass fishing or some of the bigger ocean fish and this kind of thing. They take significantly more time to learn and to get good at. I am horrible at it because I haven't practiced, nearly enough. I've only thrown this a couple of times. I'm more familiar with the spinners. This is something I'm going to have to practice on because I want to get good at it. They offer different features. The gear ratio inside are different. High ratio, so you can reel a lure in fast for certain kinds of fishing. Lower ratio, give you more pulling power depending on what you're fishing. Again, Jelsma Outdoors had a fantastic panel. The panel, myself and the other people on were asking him questions, but most of us didn't know too much. But he gave some fantastic information over there, so I encourage you to go over there and catch those videos if you have more questions. And if you drop comments in there asking him questions, I think he would do what he can to try to answer them for you. But if the video is old, he might not see him right away, so just be patient with him. He does work full-time and has a family on top of doing the YouTube thing, so be nice to the guy. That's right. This rod was probably about I don't know, I've had a couple years now. I'm guessing maybe a $40 rod. The reels in their day, as I understand them, were 60, 70 bucks. So this is a little higher end. This one here is one of my more expensive rigs. Mind you, that's where the, this is, I use this one for trout. This one would be good for bass. Well, it's hard to see from the camera angle, I'm sure. This one, I set this one up for fishing the rivers around Sacramento for striper. So you're talking a 14 to 18 inch long striped bass that were a conventional largemouth bass will come in, they'll hit a lure, but they don't necessarily hit and run. They hit, swallow, and then you can feel them pull, but it's not ridiculous. A striper likes to hit a lure at full speed. Hit it and never slow down, just keep going, and it will yank. I actually caught a striper on this. The picture, that you just saw was actually the fish I caught on this. Almost lost, it was first only fish I caught on this rig. Unfortunately, I don't get to fish as often as I'd like. Almost lost this setup at the time because of that fish. Because it was fishing from the bank. This pole holder was stuck in the ground. This was leaning on the pole holder. The holder wasn't as secure as I thought it was. It got hit. This fell over and started sliding down the bank. I had to just about dive on it to stop it, and then I set the hook real hard and reeled like a madman. I reeled faster than I should have. I probably should have worked him a little more, but luckily I was running 15-pound line, and it ran just fine. It didn't, I landed the fish. Speaking of line weight, this is a 12 to 25 pound, line, 8 foot 6 inch, pole, so much longer. I know you can't see the whole thing. I might be able to get some pictures in of it later. We'll see. This one is, I don't remember exactly what the action on this one is, but it's significantly stiffer because it was purchased for a striper fishing setup. But I also had, it also gives me the ability to use it as a small catfish pole or something, because it can take half to 1.5 ounce, lures, which means I can also toss light, I can also toss light weights and hooks and this kind of stuff. And so I can use it for catfish, although that's not what this one's originally intended for. So you can see it runs the gambit from old school inherited to the bargain basement to kind of a mid-range to this one. The rod itself was $90 and the reel was another $60, being that this is Shimano Sedona reel on the Lama Glass rod. This is one of my most expensive, most highest end setups. I was flush with cash at the time. You could get a setup to do something very similar for a lot less. I just splurged. So don't think you have to spend a lot for fishing a particular kind of fish. That's another thing Jelsma Outdoors would be good at, is being able to give you suggestions on how to, fish for different things. One thing you want to be sure of, like anything else, you want the right tool for the job. While this works for striper, I wouldn't want to use it for, trout or small bass. Where this one works great for trout, I wouldn't want to use it on river fish because it's, it's too small, too light. It would easily get broken. So be sure to tailor your setup to what you're after. You can talk to locals, you can email different people online, you can look up forums to find out information about your area. My biggest suggestion, if you're new to fishing, if your community, or maybe a small community nearby, or near where you're fishing at, has any small, locally owned stores that sell bait and tackle, they sometimes will have information guides, or sometimes you can go down there, you can get lucky, find the old gentleman sitting in the corner whose health is not real great, but so he can't fish anymore, so he's no longer trying to protect his favorite fishing spots. And you can, ask them questions, be polite, and be thankful for whatever they give you. You'd be surprised what kind of information they might be willing to share. Alright, well, this is fishing gear video number 1. I have plenty more, and I'll actually go over lures and tackle boxes here at some point. I appreciate you guys stopping by. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful night. Calaveras 32 Special. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram as well. Thank you.